Figma and Blender files are in the description down below. Lots of things to cover, let's get started. Once you open Figma file, you'll see two pages on the left side. One is called Final, meaning final design, and one is called Process. And in this page, I'm going to show the whole process, how the label was created. You're not going to see competition frame up here because those images aren't mine. That's why I decided to delete it. Let me point out that this is conceptual design. I wanted to show the process of how the brand name, logo, label was created in Figma and how everything was finalized using Blender. And since I am providing Figma and Blender files, I'm not going to cover the basics. For example, how to create a text layer or how to change the color and so on. We are going to explore way more complicated topics than that. Having knowledge about the product or the product category helps a lot. I have been training all my life and I know quite a lot when it comes to supplements and nutrition. I know the brand names, price points, because I've tried lots of products myself during years of training. This frame is my competition. I'm not using this for inspiration. This is not inspiration board, nothing like that. This is my competition. I'm going to compete against those brands, the ones who are selling protein powder. I haven't included other famous companies like, for example, My Protein, which I've used myself. I like the product, have no problem with the company whatsoever. The thing is that design adds value, and I don't want to compete with companies that are selling their products cheaper than their competition. I want to compete with premium brands, the ones who are selling their products at higher price. Let's analyze. Most jars or cans are in black color. So I instantly knew that I'm going to go white. This is why I've included this and this, because this is not a premium brand, but I really like the jar. And this is not a premium brand either. And this orange at the bottom is what I would call a blast from the past. The second thing I've noticed that most jars scream in your face. Big bold letters, lots of information on the label. I've decided to take the challenge and design something minimal and elegant. Something that looks completely different than the competition to beat the competition. I knew the direction I want to take. It was a time for a brand name and a logo. I went through each label and wrote down phrases, statements, and the list was much longer on my notepad. This is a condensed version of it. I needed a name. After a couple of hours trying different variations, I came up with a short list. The original list was much longer. I really liked Muscle Face and Amino More, but I couldn't use Muscle Face because there's a brand name called Muscle Farm. So I had to skip this and go with Amino More. If you are not into training or nutrition, you might not know what amino acid is, but if you use Google, you can see that amino acids are molecules that combine to form proteins. And most people who are into training or nutrition or both know that. The second part of the name implies benefit. More. Amino more. You get more amino acid. And it sounds elegant. Amino more. It's not something like Muscle Farm, new trend, harsh, in your face. It's Amino More. Again, my goal is to create something different. I also instantly knew that I'm going to use this. Repair, rebuild, refuel, rest, recovery, regain. Lots of benefits. I really like that. And this is why I wrote in one line, because I was sure I'm gonna use 2 or 3 words, maybe all of them, but I wanted to imply benefit. You get amino more, and you get repair, rebuild, refuel, rest, recover, regain, like any combination that can come up from those 6 words. At this point, I had a jar, this one, I had a brand name, amino more, and the text. I jumped into the Blender and I modeled this jar, but I'm going to cover Blender later. I've used this frame for the label. I've tested different dimensions, and this is the final version that I was happy with. Choosing typeface for a logo is quite simple. All you have to do is type your brand name multiple times or copy and paste multiple times. Select one, go under typography, click here and select the typeface from the top down to bottom. You can do it randomly or you can go on Google Fonts, it's up to you. I did it here and I instantly liked this one. And once I had my eye on it, it's called Unbounded. I decided to come up with another list and type protein to see how it looks. And this is the one I really liked. Choosing typeface is not enough. I knew I had to spice it up. I'm going to zoom in and show you what I did. Letter E has this curve. I really liked it. I decided to replicate on letter M here. I also opened letter O here. I thickened letter R right here in this area. If you compare here, I wanted to add something else. This is why I added this line here to form an arrow here, implying more. Right here, more, more, and more. Here down below, I have a scaled down version of each logo I liked, just to see the difference and how it looks. And here is the variation I definitely needed for my label. Creating one is quite simple. All you have to do is take a rectangle, add corner radius, take part of this, place it on top, and choose appropriate Boolean operation. That's it. Creating label is long and tedious process. Please note that this is way more complicated than that. It took me more than 100 frames to come up with the final design. You have to do multiple side-by-side comparisons. For example, if you change position, you change font size, add something else, you want to do side-by-side comparisons and see how it looks. Here you see the progression, but you're not seeing the whole process it took. I'm also not worried about colors. I'm using colors for myself. I'm only worried about position and size. That's it. This is the phase we can call wireframing. Here on frame number 5, I've crafted the benefit. What the buyer is going to get. I chose 3 words: repair, rebuild, and refuel, and designed multiple options that I'm going to test on the label. This is the starting point. I trimmed down the frame to make it smaller because it's easier to do side-by-side comparisons. I'm going to go through each frame and explain what I did. I wanted to zoom out before I zoom in again and show you the frame called Blender Testing. I'm not just working in Figma, I'm also working in Blender. If I make a change here in Figma, I want to see how it looks in Blender immediately. I'm not worried about lights, color, because we're still in wireframing phase, but I can't do this just in Figma. I want to see how it looks on 3D object. So I'm working in 2D and in 3D simultaneously. Enough already. Let's go through each frame and let me show you what I did. Here on color frame, I tilted everything by 5.7 degrees. If you click on any object or text, you'll see it's tilted by 5.7. And the reason why I did that was to look different than the competition, because no one is doing that. And the second reason was to imply more. And I wanted to do both things, to imply more with design, with arrangement, and to look different. I also added grid. It's not an accurate grid, just something I could rely on while tilting. That's it. It's not accurate. And this whole process page is a complete mess, because this is how you design things. I'm not striving for perfection or accuracy. I want my creative juices to flow. I don't want to be constrained. But once I tilt it, I decided to hide it. This is the major change. And as you'll see, it's going to stay. I also added chocolate image because I wanted to see how it looks, but I didn't like it at all. And as you can see on frame color 3, there's no image, just the text. There's no image here, and I tilted this back horizontally to 0. Here it remains the same, but I'm working on a different version without the border. Here I continue to work and came up with this and this. I added this here and I tilted. And this looked better to me than the one here with the border. By the way, this is auto layout, this is auto layout, this is auto layout. I use auto layout a lot because it helps to control gaps, spacing, position. It is really helpful. To be honest, auto layout is one of the best things. It is what makes Figma different. I use it a lot here and in other projects. If you don't know what auto layout is, check out the free video I have on my YouTube channel. It's about 2 hours long. I'm actually showing how to create a responsive card, and you'll see how it works. You'll learn all the basics you need. In case you want to dive deeper, you can go to my Udemy page, and here I have auto layout in Figma training course, which is way longer. It's over 8 hours long. I am showing everything you need to know if you are going to use auto layout a lot. But to be honest, this 2-hour course that I'm also sharing on Udemy for free is great. It's more than enough. And if you want to download, I would suggest go to Udemy, subscribe, it's free. Take it, download each video and watch on any device you want. Oh, and if you want to learn more about scalable vector graphics, like how to edit fonts, how to edit or create illustrations and so on, how to create logos, I have 4 training programs here. Part 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm showing different techniques and different things. It's 8 hours in total. It's absolutely free. If you are serious about learning scalable vector graphics, I would strongly recommend to go through each part, and you will learn how scalable vector graphics work in Figma. Back to Figma. I also noticed that I tilted back the logo back to 0. I added this sign here more. I also changed the font values because this one looks bigger, this one looks thinner, and I also created some variations here. I also had an itch. I wanted to test another picture. I knew that it's not going to work, but I had an itch and I had to scratch it. So I took an image from Unsplash, this one, and I tried it, but it didn't work. And there's also another thing. If you want to go premium, you don't want to use pictures. For example, if you go to a restaurant, if you go to a premium restaurant, you're not going to see pictures. Pictures are for regular restaurants, but for premium restaurants, you're not going to see pictures. This is how it goes. Since I want to go premium, I decided to drop this picture thing altogether and forget about it. Next, I tilted the sign. I tilted the logo back. So it was horizontal, I tilted it back. I also added border here. I also made it thinner, I guess, because it looks thicker here. Here I tilted logo back to 0, so it's horizontal, and I tilted this sign back to 0. And I'm playing with different variations just to see how it looks. I'm not worried about colors. No, it's not about colors. It's about using colors to make it look different to my eyes so that I could have a fresh look. Here I've implemented even more changes. I moved the logo down here tilted, moved the text down here. Now it's thinner. I increased the size of this sign. I decided to delete this word natural and also increased the size of this font. Oh, and I also tilted this. Moving to the next frame. This text is in all caps. It's thicker, maybe a little bit smaller, but it's thicker and in all caps. This text and this is also in all caps compared to this frame. Adding blue and red lines is not necessary, but I really wanted to do this just to see the difference of each section and how it flows. Right after that, I decided to change color of red background to light gray here, here, and here. And I also created a pattern down here and pasted here, here, and here. Now, if you look at this frame, I decided to change the color of this logo and this text. There's no pattern here. I deleted it, so it's not there. I made this pattern and this pattern a little bit darker. And just like before, I'm changing colors not because I want to choose colors for the final design. No, I'm just changing colors to make it look different. That's all. What else? Oh yeah, this sign more. It has rounded corners, so I transformed it and now it doesn't have rounded corners. If you look down below, it's from here. So I made this without rounded corners and I made cuts just to emphasize more. Just like with letter E here and letter M. I decided to take a minute and show you how I created this pattern, or how you can create any pattern for that matter. All you have to do is click letter P and click with your mouse, hold Shift, click, still holding Shift and clicking with my mouse and moving my mouse here, here, and here. And now I know that all angles are equal. Now I'm clicking letter V, selecting all, moving my mouse next to the line and holding Alt or Option key on Mac. Dropping here, clicking on the line with my mouse and connecting. Deselect, select again, click on the line, Alt or Option key, drop it, click on the line, connect. Click on the line, Alt or Option key, drop it. Click with my mouse, connect. If I click enter, I have a pattern. If I unhide this, I have a vector 108, and I can change the color, thickness, and so on. So this is how I created this pattern, and you can scale it down if you want. Sorry. And it's quite easy. And if you want to add something, you can click enter, select all, create a copy, and it's all within one layer. Next, I'm going to show you how to edit fonts. Letter T to access text tool, click. I'm going to type letter O, escape, drag this here, right click, flatten, click enter on my keyboard, select this point, this one, delete, this one, delete, this one, delete, access pen tool by clicking letter P, click here and here, here and here. Now I'm going to choose paint bucket tool, add color, remove color, click enter. Okay, now it seems okay. Click enter back again, select this, delete, delete, delete. That's how you do this. I'm going to select rectangle tool, draw a rectangle. Now on the left side, I'm going to drag rectangle down below. I'm going to click on letter O, hold shift, click on rectangle, Move down here, click, exclude selection. If you are using old interface, it should be in the middle. Boolean operations are in the middle. You just click and choose exclude selection. I'm going to right click, flatten, enter. I'm going to add 1 point here. Select this point and hold shift and move with my arrows. Do the same thing right here. Enter. And this is how you do this and how you control your vector. That was quick, right? And this is exactly what I did. Back to the label. I cut a line here and here. So this one is empty and this one is empty, just to divide the text. And there's another line here, but it's not empty. I placed a pattern here. I made some really big changes in this frame called color 18. I'm going to select this frame, unhide, select logo. If you look at rotation, now it's 12 degrees. It was 5 or 6 degrees and now it's 12. And each pattern, each auto layout text is set to 12. And I did this because I saw that 5 or 6 degrees is not enough when you add this label on 3D object. Then I changed the color of this text and this sign. I removed this pattern and I changed this pattern to this and this to this. I was thinking about patterns quite a lot. I had multiple ideas. I thought about creating something new, something complex, but then I thought, why don't I take the logo and the sign I already have and create a pattern out of it? And I've tried and I really liked what I saw. I also decided to change the text protein. I created a rectangle, took the text and placed on top, excluded, simple Boolean operation, and placed pattern underneath. At this point, I was confident that I'm gonna make it, because during the whole process, I was not very sure if I am going the right way. Since I am creating something new, something different, I was honestly contemplating of starting over, dropping this and starting over from scratch. But at this point, I saw how everything connects. The reason why I'm telling you this is because I want you to know my design process, how it works, what I have gone through during this period, about the struggles I faced, because it's not that easy to come up with something. It takes time, and sometimes you have to drop it and start over. It happens. Let's get back to the label. I added new texture here and here below, from down below. It was made out of the logo, right here and here. I added new texture from here up here. I got rid of this. Now it's an empty space. And I also deleted no added sugar. So I combined those two into one here. What else? I changed the color of this. And I also added pattern under the text protein. So it's this under here. And finally, I got rid of the background from here. Now it's an empty space. Also here, 3 lines, gray lines are not here. Also an empty space here. By jumping to this frame, I can instantly see that I worked on alignment. I opened this space, it's much bigger here. I moved this texture up, this texture down. I also made this texture smaller. I added new line here. I took this part from the logo And I also changed how this text looks here. I took this and pasted here, I mean color and font size and so on, and I did the same thing right here. I took all the properties from this text and applied on this text, chocolate. And I took all the properties from rebuild text and applied to flavor text. This is how it looks in black and white, because we are going to apply color directly in Blender. And this is where I made it wider. Because I saw that the label is too small, I needed to make it wider. And once I did that, it wrapped well around the jar. I made one small change over here, trimmed this down from 3 lines to just 1 line. At the end of this page, you can see how I tested the label. I took the original frame from here, which was tested in Blender, and it worked really well. I pasted here, created copies, pasted the label inside, and tested in Blender. This was to test gold foil, this was to test silver foil, this was to test gold and silver foil. I've tested multiple variations, way more than you can find here. Decided to leave just 2 rows just to show what I did, but it was way more than that. Time to visit the final page and compare the final label to the one from the process page. I increased the size of the final label to 1400 because it was 1200. I also changed this, and this text to typeface that I've used for the logo. I'm talking about this one. If you look on the right side, on the final label, you'll see that the text here looks different, and here, and here, and here, and here, and here, because I changed the typeface, and I think that it looks way better, because on this side, it looks kind of bland. I didn't like it, and I usually wouldn't advise to use same typeface that you used for the logo, but since it's a conceptual design, and since the idea is to use the logo or parts of the logo all over the label, I thought that this could be an exception, and I also made some other changes. I increased the size of this text a little bit, and I also changed this from regular to semi-bold. And it is quite obvious I had to increase the size of the texture here, here, and here, just to cover the label since it is now bigger in size. The frame called Components has everything you need in order to create this label. Here I have the logo and signs. Here's the text, texture here, and here. The reason why I have 2 frames for the same texture is quite simple. I'm going to unhide here. If you click on pattern 1 on the left side, you'll see that I have so many vectors inside, meaning that each vector is on separate layer. If I collapse this and click on pattern number 2, it looks the same, but there's just 1 layer. How I did that? I selected all the layers inside and chose flatten selection. And by doing this, I merged all the selected layers into 1 layer. Same goes for this pair, and this pair. Before I switch to Blender, I want to show you one last thing. This frame with white background is for foundation and for roughness. This frame with black background called silver is for silver foil. And this last frame named gold is used for gold foil. It is very important to make sure that each layer on each frame, I'm talking about black, silver, and gold, is in exactly the same position. You want to be sure that text layers, textures are in the same position. Let me show you why I use Figma and why it is so great. I'm going to click on silver, Alt-Option key, and make a copy here. I'm going to select this frame and delete. I'm going to select final, Alt-Option key, paste here. Now on the right side, I'm going to click Align Top and Center. I'm going to click on silver and change the fill to white, just to pretend that I'm starting over. Now I'm going to click on silver and click on black here, selection colors, change to red. I'm going to click on gold, change to red. I'm going to click on silver, click on white, change to black. Here on red, change to white, change to white. And let's say I want to delete this, double click, delete, double click, delete, double click, delete, delete. And I can't delete this flavor because it's in auto layout, but what I can do, I can change the color to black. I'm going to hold Control or Command key, select this, plus Shift, select this and this, change to black. Done. And now I know that each section, each layer, each text layer, texture is in exactly the same position. Modeling takes time, refinement, edits. I'm not going to go through the whole process, but I'm going to show how I modeled the jar, what steps I took. Just before I start, I want to mention that I'm using Lazy Viewport plugin. I was already used to moving objects around, rotating, without having this plugin, but once I tried it, I never went back. You don't have to use it. I'm just showing how I do things in Blender. But if you want to try, it's free. It's on github.com and it's called Lazy Viewport. I'm going to delete this. Shift plus A, image, reference, add reference, object, rotation 90. I'm going to click on X, letter G, move up, move here, Shift plus A, mesh, circle, zoom in, Shift plus middle mouse to move down, tab to enter edit mode, click letter F to fill, letter E to extrude, middle mouse button to lock in, letter S to scale. Now I'm going to select this or number 3 on the keyboard. Good. X, delete faces. Number 2 or this. Here, hold Alt-Option key, select this, letter E to extrude, S to scale, letter E to extrude, S to scale, letter E to extrude, middle mouse button to lock it, letter E to extrude, S to scale, letter E to extrude, S to scale, tab. All right. Let's go back in, tab to enter edit mode, Control or Command plus R to add cuts, use mouse wheel to add more cuts, click, escape. Repeat here, escape. Here, escape. Let's check face orientation. Blue, blue, good. select, modifiers, add, search, subdivision, 2, right click, shade smooth. Let's go back to edit mode. Select this, letter I, click once again, click, and once again, click, letter M, merge at center. Back here. Good. Let's click this, random. Let's go back to edit mode. If you want to add holding edge, Control or Command plus R. Click here, drag down below. Let's say click here, move up. Once more, click here, back. I'm using labels separately because it's easier for me. I have more control. I'm going to click on this, Shift plus D to copy, escape, hide the original, go to edit mode. Make sure you have this mode selected or number 3. Alt or Option key, click next to line, plus Shift. I'm holding Alt and Option key plus Shift, clicking. Letter P by selection. I'm going to hide this. Delete circle 001. Select this. Go to edit. Letter A to select all. S to scale. Scale. Back to object mode. Unhide. Rename. Label. Go back to edit mode. And scale. I'm holding Shift just to make sure I'm using in smaller increments. Back. And the cap was modeled in the same way, using same buttons, same techniques. Of course, this took longer than that. You have to refine, look at the original model, add cuts, adjust, edit, and it takes time. But roughly, this is what I did. This is how it works. Once you're finished, scale it down, apply the scale, just to make sure that the jar looks like the one you would find in the store. I'm talking about dimensions. Let's go to UV editing. Select the label, edit mode, letter A, shading, principal BSDF, Control or Command plus T. I'm using Node Wrangler plugin, open, add the label, and you can rotate here, or you can go to, on mapping, or you can go to UV editing, zoom out, select all, letter R, rotate, letter G to position, go back to shading, and this is how it works. This is the Blender file I shared. Check description if you haven't. Let's start from the top. Camera. I'm going to click 0. Here, focal length 70, and I have depth of field. Look at the layer here, it is DOF. I'm going to show you. This is the empty. And if I go back to camera, I selected this, and this depth of field is active. Under the camera, I have empty. Let's expand, and inside cap, container, and label. I'm going to click 0. So it's cap, container, and label. I will cover lights once we move to the shading tab. Next goes the background. It's called BG. Huge backdrop. And I'm not using this for the final render. I just wanted to have something here. And if you go here under render and scroll down, and here under film, you'll see that I have transparent active. Finally, there's a curve. Let's zoom in. Let's go to modifiers. It has solidify, array, and subdivision. It was created out of cylinder. If I hide this and unhide and select this, let's go to edit mode. you can see how it was stretched. Let me show you how to create one. Shift+A, Mesh, Cylinder, Edit Mode, Add Cuts, Control or Command+R, mouse wheel to add more cuts, click, Escape. Now I'm going to click number 3 on my keyboard, select this, X, Faces, X, Faces, select number 2, hold Alt or Option key on Mac, click this, select this, Proportional Editing. Now I'm going to click on letter G to move, and I am moving and I'm using my mouse to control how I affect this object. So if I move down this, I can zoom in and out. I can select this and move like this. I can select this and move up and do it like this. Click here. Shading tab is the most important here. I'm going to start from the lights, but I want to tell you one thing up front. Whenever I change something like light intensity or light position or roughness on the jar or anything, I export immediately. And this is why my render settings are set to max samples 32, because I want to export, import into Photoshop, do some basic post-processing and see how it looks. Just like with the label. If I change something on the label, I want to export and add on 3D model immediately. This is the same thing because I want to see the change. And I'm not talking about 1 or 10, I'm talking about multiple exports, just to make sure that I am on the right track. Oh boy, did I suffer with the light. But once I decided to light the center of the jar, it became much easier. The thing is that the label design is centered, so it's quite natural to want to light the center and emphasize more repair, more refuel, more rebuild, more flavor. Of course, I could have gone wider than that with the center light, but this is what I like the most. You can find all the lights here. Backlight, light center. This one is hidden, light left. I was testing left light, moving around, changing settings, didn't work for me. Light right, just a slight light on the right side. And spot for curve here on the left side. And if you want to check the settings, click on the bulb, click on each light, and you'll see how each light is set up. Let's go through materials real quick. Curve. It is silver cloth, base color, metallic set to 1, roughness set to 0.4, specular set to 1. Background. Color, metallic set to 1, roughness to 0.268. It could be 0.2 or 0.3. And specular set to 1. Now the jar. Cap. Base color white, metallic 0, roughness 0.1, specular 1. Container. Metallic 0, roughness 0.3, and specular 1. I haven't included bump map, texture, nothing, because it's in white color. It would be different if it's in black color, red color, any color, but in white color, it's not visible. There is no need to add anything, unless you really want to. I remember when I started, and I know that most designers go through this phase. Some even stay in this phase for the rest of their lives, worrying about things that are not visible to naked eye. I remember how I would use Photoshop. I would zoom in For example, if I'm removing the background, I would zoom in and go pixel by pixel, and it was so natural and I thought I'm doing a great job, but I couldn't see the progress from the distance. And imagine if a client has to pay for something that he can't see. So the bottom line is that I stopped worrying about things that are not visible. For example, I'm not going to worry about the scene that is not visible. I'm not going to worry about design elements that are not visible. I'm worried about the final design, the final render, final export, and how it looks on, let's say, YouTube or Facebook. Because if you're using your image on YouTube or Facebook, it's going to be downgraded so much, it's going to be compressed so much, you're not going to see the same image. So for example, when I'm designing for, let's say, YouTube or Facebook, I'm going to worry about the final design and how it looks on that specific platform. This is the node setup for the label. Let's dive in and check how it was created. Here I have the base. I'm going to use M on my keyboard to mute, and you can see the difference. If I mute, I don't have the base. And here on the left side, there's an image of what is on this card. So it's black.png image, it's white background, and black like text, texture, everything else. Here we have another node, and it's the same black.png, and it's connected to roughness. If I mute or disconnect, you can see that the light travels through the whole label. But if I add to roughness, now the light travels only on the black spots, meaning texture and text. The color ramp that I have here was added to control black and white. How I added silver foil, let's check it out. Here I have another BSDF. Metallic is set to 1, roughness set to 0.250, and specular set to 1. And this goes into mix shader. And here I have a silver.png. If I click on it, you can check the image on the left side. It's black background and white text and texture. And this gives us silver foil. If I mute this, you can see it's all silver. If I add this, now it's just for the text that was in white color and texture, of course. If I mute this, there's no silver foil anymore. So this is how you add and control silver foil. Next, you want to add gold foil, right? Here I have another BSDF. I set the base color to the one I used in Figma. Metallic set to 1, roughness 0.3, and specular 1. It goes into mix shader. And here I have gold.png. And if you check left side, you'll see that it's the same image from Figma. It has black background and white text. If I mute this by clicking letter M, you can't see gold foil anymore. And if you mute this, you can see how it looks. And I can change the color, let's say, to this, and now I have blue foil. I'm going to undo, and it all connects to the final material output. It's quite simple, but it works. For the final render, max samples was set to 512, but you can easily get away with, let's say, 128 if you're using denoise. Since it's still image, it works fine. And I also set output to 200%. Not 100%, but 200%. I'm going to show you some basic post-processing I did in Photoshop. It's going to be simple and, of course, destructive. Okay, let's go to Image, Adjustments, Curves. I'm going to add here, here, Image, Adjustments, Exposure. I'm going to set Offset. Okay, maybe 85. Image, Adjustments, Brightness, maybe 15, 30, image adjustments, exposure, okay, image adjustments, curves. Something around here. Done. Now I can export. Back to the Figma. Here's the image I imported, and it's double in size because remember I set to 200% instead of 100% under output settings in Blender. I'm going to show how I added background and shadow here on this frame, size 1920. It's a frame, and inside here on the left side you can see 3 layers. First layer is the image. Second layer is a shadow. How I created this is just a simple circle. I placed it here and added blur. It was set to 375 and color was set to this. And here's the background. It's just black background. That's it. And this is how easy it is to add shadows, gradients, anything you want in Figma. And if you want to scale down, all you have to do is make a copy, letter K, and scale down like this, or can type here, and you have an image for, let's say, YouTube. My final thoughts. Am I happy? No, because I am never happy or satisfied. Honestly, sometimes it's even embarrassing to share something because you look at it and it's not good enough. But I'll tell you what I like. I like the whole concept, the brand name, the logo. I like how I am emphasizing more, repair, refuel, rebuild, more, flavor, and how the sign changes from one sign here. It goes like this around the center. Here's another sign to reset your brain, and it goes to flavor. I like this portion. I like the texture, but you know, I still see so many things I could do. Enough is enough. I'm sharing what I have with you. I hope it's gonna be useful to you. And if you have any questions, let me know. Just drop a comment. I'm gonna look at it and respond as fast as I can.